Afternoon, everybody. My name is Justin Allison. I am the Assistant Director of Specialized Supports at New Orleans Public Schools. I specifically work on the Diverse Learner Support Team, so I do a lot of family outreach and support with the community, specifically on a host of topics with special education. So I am very humble and very excited to present to you today. I know we have a smaller group, so if there's any questions, comments, just put it in the chat, come off of mute. But this presentation is designed to support families with giving them more information as it relates to special education and charter schools. What does enrollment look like for K through 12? What is kind of the timeline and updates to consider when you are making the decision to apply for school, and then also some other services and supports that the full school system provides students with disabilities. So like I said, I've been in my role about 3 years now. Started in the fall of 22. Always on the diverse learning support team, so I connect with a lot of families, students, and schools, discussing about an array of special education topics and issues, centering on what are some additional factors, resources, or information that could benefit either a parent, a student, or educators when it comes to working with students with exceptionalities. So I am very humbled to partner with Claire and her amazing organization over the last several years. This is our agenda for today. So I will go over some specialized programming resources. I'll go over some enrollment resources, and finally we'll open the floor to some Q&A. Like I said, if you have any comments, questions, feel free to type them in the chat, come off of mute, whatever works. All right, so just kind of some general information and guidance first. Charter schools and special education. So each CMO, which stands for Charter Management Organization, um, or single site school, is legally required to provide all the services outlined in a student's IEP. So for any student, pre-K through 12th grade, if they have a current IEP, if they are transferring from one school to another, if that student has an established IEP, that is a federal document. So that means that any charter school provides a full spectrum of services and supports outlined in a student's IEP. If that's speech, if that's occupational therapy, if that is some other additional accommodations or settings or services, the charter school for that student where they are enrolled will continue to provide the full services and supports offered to that student. An IEP team made up of parents, teachers, school representatives, related service providers makes a collective decision on the best placement for a student given their unique needs. So there is something called specialized programs. One version of specialized programs is known as academic specialized programs, and the other version is known as behavioral specialized programs. And both of these usually work with a referral-based system, meaning that there's some additional eligibility criteria and individual student factors that need to be discussed and reviewed by the IEP team to make sure that that setting and services is most appropriate for that student's needs. So it is a process. It isn't like just one person making one quick decision. It is something that happens over an established timeline, something that is collectively decided on, collectively reviewed. It involves a fair amount of data and a lot of discussion of like, hey, given this XYZ need of the student or this intervention, we have determined as an IEP team that this student would best actually get their services from a specialized program. As an emphasis on this point, if the student receives services in a specialized program, that is just their service model. They are continued for enrollment on paper at their home school. So they might receive the majority of their services at a different setting in a different location, but their enrollment's sake, they're still enrolled at their home school. And I can go over some more examples in the next few slides. Some of you, if you currently have a student with an IEP, enrolled at a charter school in New Orleans that might have seen this handout. This is from the LDOE, but many years ago they came up with this helpful FAQ document that's linked here, and that when Claire shares out the PowerPoint, um, you'll be able to access, but it just reads the most frequently asked questions as it relates to special education services and charter schools. And charter schools all have to provide the same level of services and supports outlined by federal legislation, which is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or otherwise known as IDEA. So there's never any sort of like enrollment discrimination or saying that like we cannot service this child because charter schools, as recipients of public money, have to provide the full spectrum of services and supports for a student. All right, so these are the two main types of specialized programs. So on one side, you have specialized behavioral programs. On the other side is specialized academic programs. So the behavioral programs are for those students who have profound behavioral needs. Um, these settings offer continuum services to support students who have significant behavioral or social emotional needs. Some common names are Renew Therapeutic Program, which has been around for almost, I want to say, a dozen years. Crescent City's Aurora program, which has been around for, I want to say, 6 or 7 years since right before COVID. And most of these programs are kindergarten through eighth grade. So in terms of referral and services, um, for example, if a student is at RTP and they might be coming from a different school, they would stay enrolled at that school, but they would get their services and supports and instruction at RTP throughout the majority of the day. The specialized academic program. This is for students who have more significantly cognitive disabilities, who might have moderate to significant academic needs, and they usually qualify for the alternative assessment, otherwise known as LEAP Connect. That doesn't start till third grade. There is the alternative literacy and numeracy screener for K through 2. But usually the specialized academic programs are much more emphasis on functional skills, life skills, essential skills, and CMOs and single site charters offer a spectrum of special education services and supports, which is usually why the specialized academic programs, one of each school has some sort of option as it relates to the academic programs. And these are for students in grades K through 12, and there's specific information for referral. I'll give you a couple hypothetical examples. I apologize if this is too much words on the screen. But I'll read this as a case study just so you can help understand what kind of specialized program might meet each hypothetical individual student needs. So Jordan is a third grade student who demonstrates significant behavioral and social emotional needs that impact his ability to succeed in a traditional classroom setting. He frequently exhibits high levels of frustration, often resulting in aggressive outbursts, refusal to complete tasks, and difficulty maintaining positive peer relationships. Despite targeted interventions within the general education setting, including a behavioral intervention plan, counseling supports, and small group social skills instruction, Jordan continues to require more intensive services. He shows strong problem-solving skills when calm and has a particular interest in science experiments, but he struggles with self-regulation and transitions. After looking at all the data and information, the IEP team collectively decides that a therapeutic program and a specialized behavioral program would provide Jordan with a highly structured environment, integrated therapeutic supports, and the necessary individualized behavioral interventions to help him build stronger coping strategies and access the learning material more successfully. So this is a student who the IEP team decided, despite interventions, despite data, that the best setting would be a specialized behavioral program because that aligns with more of the student's individualized needs. This, on the other hand, is a student who qualifies for a specialized academic program. So I emphasize the academics. There's a much more emphasis on the functional skills, the self-help skills, and they usually align to a student. who needs the alternative curriculum, otherwise known as the Louisiana Connector Standards. So Lisa is a third grade student with severe academic needs related to a developmental disability. She participates in the Leap Connect alternative assessment and is learning early reading and math skills with significant support. Lisa benefits from repetition, visual cues, and small group instruction, and she is also working on communication, self-care, and social interaction skills with the support of related services such as speech therapy. The IEP team collectively decides this specialized academic program focused on functional skills would be most appropriate because she could progress academically while also building independence, i.e., her self-help and daily living skills in her daily routine. So one student is more, the first was for more specialized program setting, the IEP team decided, and the second, Lisa, was the hypothetical student for the specialized academic programs. In terms of providing you information and resources, last spring in the February 2024, we contacted all the schools and we updated the specialized program guide. So every school usually has some sort of specialized program guide, sorry, specialized program for academics. The behavioral specialized programs, there's only a handful in the city, in full transparency, Aurora, Constellations, and also uh, Renew Therapeutic. So this is meant to be a family-facing guide, so feel free to look at it. If you have any specific questions, let me know. But it's over 25 pages long, so there's a fair amount of information to read through. And it also gives the breakdown of who are the school contacts, what is the eligibility information, what does the referral information and process look like, and sort of what is the next steps if you're interested in pursuing that as a potential option, and discussing that with the IEP team for services for a child. This special education resource guide is another resource for families. It's located on our website. It's available in Spanish, Vietnamese, and English, as well as the read aloud accessibility functions. So this special education resource guide is a huge compendium of like 150 different programs, organizations, medical providers, community-based advocacy groups, all that after school enrichment guide, and it's broken down by category. So this was last updated 2 years ago, so I know we're um, ready for a new update this year sometime. But until then, this is the most recent version. So if you're looking for any sort of additional parent support groups or family advocacy information or medical providers or after school information, maybe check out the special education resource guide as that would be really helpful. All right. Are there any questions about anything that I covered so far? Feel free to put it in the chat, come off of mute before I turn it over to the enrollment side of things. All right. So in full transparency, I do not work on the enrollment team, but I do directly collaborate with them on several topics and issues and throughout the course of the year. So this information is the most updated, and that's why I wanted to make sure to have special emphasis on providing a little bit more clarity and information as it relates to enrollment. Um, One app is still a common name that a lot of families and a lot of people across New Orleans use for enrollment. Officially, though, One App is not the name anymore. It is called NCAP, which is the New Orleans Common Application. So that's the abbreviation. So One App was the terminology that was not used maybe since 3 years ago. So the enrollment window for K through 12 enrollment is usually open in mid-November, so like right before Thanksgiving, and closes right in mid to late January. So the results for grade rankings, or sorry, school rankings come out in terms of a match usually in March and April. because there needs to be a set time where families accept their seat. So usually, the process looks like this. If there is, say you're coming out of daycare looking for a kindergarten school, right? So you apply for a series of kindergarten seats. You can rank your schools. I think you can rank up to like 10 different schools. So you would rank them in a specific order. Like this is your top pick based on a variety of factors. Maybe it's geography, maybe it's where you've heard good things about their elective program. Maybe your cousin went there, so you know it's like a good school, or you like the educators. So then you fill out the rankings and then you submit that. It doesn't matter whether you fill out the rankings and the application either early in November when it first opens or in January. As long as you submit everything before the window closes, it's still the same end result. There's not exactly a priority given if you fill it out earlier in the enrollment window. You just have to do it before the enrollment window closes. So then the application results for where your child gets a seat usually come out March, end of March, early April, because families have about 2 or 3 weeks to decide, yes, we want the seat, or no, we do not. You know, some families might go to private school, some might go move out of state. There's another seat that opens up. It just depends. But I think statistically so, about 85 to 90% of families get one of their top three picks. So statistically so, it's usually known that families get one of the top three picks among schools for their kids. And this is all for K through 12 enrollment. Um, Birth through 4 enrollment is different because there's a lot more different funding variations with the information based on residency, based on income. So there's city seats based on the millage for early childhood. There's state LDOE seats that are funded through separate funding sources. So it really depends, and that's why, in terms of birth to 4 enrollment, there's a lot more paperwork that families need to be submit because there's income verification and residency verification, where it's a little bit more straightforward with K through 12 enrollment. Um, but we have something called the Family Resource Center. So we have one on Jackson Avenue in Central City. We have one off of Haynes in the east, and we have one at our West Bank office on West Bend Parkway. And they're open the traditional hours, I want to say 8 to 4, Monday through Thursday, and then they offer virtual appointments on Fridays. But they are a great resource if you have any difficulty filling out the application. If you want to manually go talk to somebody, they are meant to be the family-facing staff to support families with the enrollment process. And a large part of my job sometimes is connecting with the FRC staff members to, if they have families they refer me to, or if they have questions about special education, I kind of provide some best information and resources. Um, if there's no questions about that side of enrollment, I want to let you know that right now, there's a different period of enrollment happening. It's called open enrollment. So open enrollment always happens after the main round results come out. So main round is that November through January, results in March and April. Then families choose a seat, and based on that information, there's always a handful of schools that have available seats, right? So if you have like 100 seats for kindergarten for the first school, maybe only 85 of those seats fill up. So there's 15 seats still available. So if families don't like their school that they got assigned to, or if they want to change it, there is something called open enrollment, where from June until September, so for this year, it ends on September 12th, families without a seat or looking to change their seat can do that via the enrollment website. So it's first come, first served. So that's a caveat. Not every school has open seats, but those that do, you can change your seat if you would like. And all of this is publicly available in terms of information where you can look which schools have open seats by which grade. So it's hyperlinked here in the report. Another great resource on the Explore Schools Finder on the enrollment website. It lists every school. There's one for K through 12 schools and one for all the daycare facilities and Head Starts, but it goes over geographical location, before care, after care, school hours, support services, all that, because a lot of families have just different factors and different priorities sometimes as it relates to a school that they want for their child. So I feel like the Explore Schools is always such an excellent resource to kind of get a little bit more informed and a little bit more knowledgeable about if this is the school that you want, here's some additional factors to consider. Remember to complete the NCAP for enrollment. You do that through the parent portal. Make sure to submit all necessary documents. If you go to the FRC, make sure to bring everything with you just to make sure you don't have to make a second trip down there. So bring your, you know, your lease agreement, your mortgage, your energy bill, your water bill, your kids, social security number, birth certificate, all that. And that way, if somebody needs those forms for verification or eligibility, you have them. You don't have to go back a second time. This is the process for enrollment for early childhood. So early learning and childcare is the birth to four. There's a good number of charter schools in the city that have pre-K 4. Basically, there's almost nobody that has pre-K 3 amongst the charter schools. And there's a handful that don't have pre-K 4 at all amongst the charter schools. They just have kindergarten through 12th grade. It just depends. But pre-K 4 is technically part of early childhood, which involves a little bit different verification and placement. So make sure that you check the enrollment website to see kind of the timeline for each and the necessary process to submit an application for each. All right, so that was about 25 minutes exactly. So during the remaining time that we have here, I will open up the floor for any questions, thoughts. I know a large part of sometimes what questions families have is very individualized, so I just wanted to make sure to provide a good amount of time for today, where if you have individual questions, this would be a great time to come off from mute or put in the chat. I see one. Okay.
Yes, Gail, I will send out the PowerPoint afterwards, and I also will distribute a link to review the video.
Yes, so correct. Both the PowerPoint and the actual recording will go out. And this is my email. If you ever want a time to schedule a time to chat, just let me know, give me an email. Is this available in Spanish? No, but we can make it. That's a great resource. I'll just have to submit it to be translated. Thank you for that recommendation. That would be. We have a specific group called NOLA that we contract with that provide translation services. And then, so I would just, there would probably be about a week and a half turnaround. But I will make sure to share that with you, Claire, as well, once we have those translated. Thank you so much for that recommendation and thought, Jessica.
Yeah, that would be helpful. Do you guys have anybody who could present this again in Spanish once it's translated?
Potentially. I know that getting the document translated would not be a problem in terms of the facilitation and presentation. Let me inquire a little bit more. No, August is coming to a close. There's only about 10 more days, and then September, Labor Day is here, so the school year is already moving fast already. I really appreciate everybody's time and thoughts for logging in today. Claire, you know, you can always contact me if there's any other things that I can support with or any trainings that you or your families that you work with would like.
Oh, excuse me, sir, before you end, I just wanted to
Yes.
make sure I got on a little late. So, could we make an appointment with you to discuss possible transfers of our students between NOLA Public Schools?
Free to provide any information that I can as it relates to transfers. There's a couple enrollment periods. So if you're looking to transfer your child right now, you have until September 12th to choose a new school. After that, based on enrollment guidelines, uh, their students can only transfer if there's what's designated as a hardship transfer request and if that's approved. Um, so there is a specific process after September 12th, but you have until September 12th to choose a new school if you would like.
Okay, thank you.
Uh,
I'm pleased with my daughter's placement. I was just more looking ahead for next year and deciding or trying to decide whether or not I
yeah,
needed to
and
exchange. She's
you're
in third
always
grade right now.
welcome
Mhm.
to fill out what's called the main round application, which is that November through January main round.
Okay.
Um, if you would like to see what other school you could apply to. In full transparency, there is the potential of losing your seat at your current school if you apply for a new school.
Okay, that's what I was wondering also. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
I'm sorry, one last question, sir. So we're
Yes.
able to call the schools we're interested in and maybe meet with someone as they're, available to explore future
Yes, I think that's
options.
always a great resource. I know I speak with a lot of different school-based staff, like special education coordinators or principals, and sometimes, given a child's needs or supports, families like to have that conversation with you know, the 3 to 4 schools that they're thinking about.
Right.
Because that way they can just get a little bit more information about what does the instructional day look like? What does the services and supports look like? If a child has XYZ needs, like what does that look like in terms of school environment? So I think that's always a great way to connect and kind of establish that communication. And I find a lot of schools are very receptive about having those conversations or willing to engage with families. You know, I've heard of certain schools like, hey, like, why don't you come and see our school or we can give you a little bit of tour. So there's definitely a wide variety of possible conversations or like opportunities that come from those points of connection.
Okay. Thank you for your response. Appreciate it.
Of course. And then I think, Jessica, you said, sorry, clicking too many buttons. Um,
She was just
for May,
responding
for
to what
November, this November of 25 would be the new main round application, and it would be open until January 26 usually. If you look at the New Orleans website for New Orleans Public Schools as well as the Enroll website, there's usually some sort of like social media campaign, um, on like Facebook, Instagram, all the different billboards of like it'll formally announce like, hey, and like next month is when main round opens on November 15th or something. So the enrollment and communications teams always try to make sure that there's a wide variety of advertisement and publication about those dates. And like last year with the snowstorm, they extended the deadline by an extra like week and a half, I want to say, just because they knew that families with like power and the snow and school being out, that was a factor. So they extended it. So there's that additional considerations for families when that stuff comes into play. Yes, we'll be able to email it to you once we get the translated. Yep.
when you send me that, Justin, would you be able to send me any other like relevant links or like if you guys have translations of any of those resource documents or anything? Could you include
Yes,
those as well?
these ones located on the New Orleans website are already translated into Spanish and Vietnamese, but this specific PowerPoint is not. Um, But I will make sure that you have the direct links to these as well for Spanish and Vietnamese, just so you can, because sometimes our website is a little bit of a black hole, so I'll just send you the direct links.
Yeah, that would be awesome because then I can just like have that as a group together to send people when they need.
Yes. Yep. Perfect. And then I'll put my information up one more time just so you guys can have it if you would like to schedule a time to chat. I always am happy to answer any questions or concerns from families. I am really appreciative of everybody's time, and I hope you walk away from this presentation with just a little bit more information. But a huge part of my job is just helping families navigate our system and feel more empowered with making the right selection and right choices for their child. So I thank everybody for their time. Claire, I deeply, deeply appreciate your support and partnership. And I hope everybody has a marvelous Wednesday.